U.S. Vice President Mike Pence says he will visit Turkey to seek a ceasefire as battle rages on in northern Syria. Meanwhile, Ankara remains defiant against mounting international pressure to curb its military offensive against Kurdish fighters. CGTN's Mikhail Bardavid explains.
On Tuesday, Turkish forces continued to push forward with the offensive into northern Syria that was launched on October 9th. Since the offensive began, there have been daily attacks on both sides of the border. While Turkey carried out air and ground assaults in Syrian border towns controlled by the YPG, mostly in Tel Abyad and Ras Al Ain, residential areas in Turkey's border towns such as Suruç, Ceylanpınar and Akçakale have been facing mortar and rocket attacks. Turkey's president has been emphasizing the offensive is against the Syrian Kurdish YPG, considered to be a terrorist organization by Ankara.
Barış Pınarı Harekatımızın iki önemli amacı vardır.
Operation Peace Spring has two goals. The first is to completely eliminate terrorist groups and PKK bases in northern Syria. The second goal is to safely return to their homeland, to their country. 3,650,000 Syrian Arabs who have been our guests for 8 years.
For decades, Turkey clashed with the PKK, the Kurdistan Workers' Party, which was fighting for autonomy in Turkey, a conflict that killed over 40,000 people. The PKK is considered to be a terrorist organization by Turkey, the US, and the EU. But Ankara insists the YPG is an extension of the PKK, and both should be treated as terrorist organizations. The US disagrees. Furthermore, Washington established an alliance with the YPG in the fight against ISIS and provided them with weapons.
With the
support of the US, the YPG became powerful in many of the areas in Syria. And that's what Turkey's concern is, that a canton will be established at our southern border and a Kurdish state that could be threatening to Turkey is created. That what Turkey considers to be a terrorist organization transforms into a state and threatens Turkey's national security.
But YPG officials reject accusations made by Ankara and deny having connections with the PKK. The YPG also makes up the largest fighting force of the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF. Its commander-in-chief, Mazlum Abdi, claims none of his fighters fired a bullet towards Turkey before the offensive and perceives Turkey's actions in Syria as an invasion. Turkish officials have repeatedly stressed that Turkey's issue is not with Kurds in general, but rather with the Kurdish fighters of the PKK and the YPG. Historian and retired Turkish army officer İbrahim Pazan explains that Kurds have been living peacefully in Turkish territories for years.
Since the times of the Ottoman Empire, Kurds live in these lands. There used to be Kurdish leaders. In places where Kurds were more dominant, they chose their own leaders. This continued during the Republic era. And now there is a Kurdish population that makes up more than 10% of the voting population.
But as the Syrian Kurdish YPG felt threatened by Turkey's offensive in Syria, it struck a deal with the Syrian government. On Monday, the Syrian army advanced into the towns of Tel Tamer and Ain Issa, according to Syrian state media. And on Tuesday, in a significant development, Russia's defense ministry confirmed that the Syrian army is now in complete control of the town of Manbij, a town that was previously controlled by US forces. Analysts believe the transition of control in key border towns such as Manbij may lead to a shift of power in the Syrian conflict.